I wouldn't use highlighters today because you actually have to write. We're going to be writing in those colors.
Oh, why?
I mean, if you want to use a highlighter, you can. You just are going to write in pencil and highlighted, I guess. Okay, so C4, elimination with multiplication. Yeah, that's me there right now. If you need to sharpen your colored pencil or sharpen your pencil, there's a pencil sharpener back here. You're welcome to that. So C4, elimination with multiplication. We're going to just do 2 problems today for our practice. But it's going to take up like the whole page because it's kind of a lot. All right, just to remind ourselves, what does the eliminate mean? To get rid of. Good. And in math specifically, how are we getting rid of the x or how are we getting rid of the y? What do we want the coefficient to be?
0.
Yeah, we want a 0. So either we want a 0y or we want a 0x. Okay, yesterday we talked about elimination. We actually wrote out like get rid of, take off, remove, cancel, things like that. Today we want to think a little bit, we're just going to narrow that thinking. Yes, that's what all that means, but we're thinking with those 0y, 0x. All right, now we're just going to jump into our first problem. Okay, so for our first problem.
We have 2 problems that are homework done.
You do. Negative 5x.
How many problems do you have on
2. Minus 14y equals 13. And 10x plus 7y equals 16. So remember, we're trying to get to the point where we have an x and a y that works for both equations. That's the goal. Okay. So as we look at this, we're going to eliminate. We want that 0x, so that's 0y. So if you look at the x's, can I combine a negative 5 and 10 to make a 0? No. Can I combine 14 and 7 to make a 0? Negative 14 and 7? No. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply, which is okay to do as long as if we multiply one thing, we have to multiply all the things. Yeah. So we're going to decide, do you guys want to get rid of the x's or do you want to get rid of the y's? The y's? Okay. We can do y's. So if we want to undo the y's, what number could I multiply 7 by to get that? 2. So what would I end up getting? 14. Yeah, so I'm going to just think over here. I want a 14y, and it's going to end up being a negative 14y. I want those y's to be the same. That's my goal. So with my top equation, I'm going to label this equation 1, because out in your practice, that's what you have to do. I keep forgetting about that. In this equation 1, do I have to multiply this negative 14y by anything to get this negative 14y? Nope, I can multiply it by 1, but I don't need to, so I'm just going to keep everything else the same. Negative 5x minus 14y equals 13. So I'm just rewriting that over here so that we're ready for our elimination. Now for equation 2, this is where it changed. I went from a 7y to a 14y. We had to multiply. What did we multiply 7 by to get 14? 2. So I'm going to say times 2. I'm going to use my little dot for times. And that was, remember, we just talked about that. If I multiply one thing by 2, I have to multiply all the things by 2. So not just the other side, but each term is going to have to end up being multiplied by 2. So what is 10x times 2? 20x. And then 7 times 2? 14. It's a positive, so we can put a plus there. Equals, and then 16 times 2? 32. Good. Now when we look at it, at this point, now it's just like yesterday. Okay? Am I going to get rid of the x's or the y's? The y's And I want that to be a 0y. That's my goal. So to get a 0y there, am I going to do negative 14 plus 14 or negative 14 minus 14? Plus. When they're opposites, we add. So I'm going to put a plus. And if I put it there, I can sneak it in front and with those constants. So I'm going to add everything. So negative 5 plus 20, positive 15x,
40.
And then 13 plus 32, 45. So what equation can I write from that where I only have one variable?
15x plus 45.
Yeah, I can just completely remove that y. I eliminated it. So I can just write 15x equals 45. And then we can solve that. So what does it mean when 15 and x are right next to each other like that? It means time, so if you need to sneak in a little time sign there, mine is super teeny tiny, you can sneak that in. And how do we undo a times? Good, we divide. So we're going to divide both sides by 15. And we get x equals 3? Awesome. Is that our final answer? Is it part of the answer? Yeah, it's part of the answer. What do we want our final answer to look like? Good, an ordered pair, so we need an x and a y. So how are we going to find the y?
Put the x into an equation.
Good, put the x into the equation. We actually have 3 options here this time. So we have equation 1. We could plug it into this top one. We could pick equation 2, this bottom one. What other equation did we use? Yeah, this one, the 20x plus 14y equals 32. We can pick any of those 3. It's our choice. We're going to get the same answer either way. Which one do you guys want to pick? 1, 2, or this 20x plus 14y equals 32?
3.
You want to deal with these big numbers? I would do 2, because it's positives and they're a little less, I don't know.
Challenge.
You can, okay, then you do the challenge. You got it.
What?
You got it. You go for it. You're right. That was funny. Alright, so 10x plus 7y equals 16. And where am I going to put the 2, the 3?
In the x spot.
Good, in the x spot. So 10, and then in parentheses I'm going to put in 3 plus 7y equals 16. Thanks, Destiny.
Times that, it's
So in the end here, our goal is to find what variable? Y. So we want this to be a y equals answer. So to solve for y, what's my first step going to be? Yeah, times what? Yeah, 10 times 3. What is 10 times 3?
what's 16 minus
That's 30. Plus 7y equals 16. Our goal is to get y by itself. So are we going to undo the 30 first or undo the 7? Good. How would I undo that positive 30?
minus it?
Good. So 7y equals,
Negative 14.
good, negative 14.
Y equals negative 2.
I did it the hard way.
Did you? Did you get negative 2?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, and then we're going to divide both sides by 7. And we get y equals negative 2. Is that our final answer?
Yeah, it's negative 2.
Well, okay. Is this our final answer?
Oh,
No. Our final answer We want the ordered pair. And it's always going to look like what? XY. 3, -2. How many times can I get Riley to say the answer is the question. All right. How can I check my work? How do I know if I'm right? Good. Put it back into the equation. So here I could do -5. And then instead of x, what number do we want to use? 3 minus 14 times -2. And what do I want my answer to be? 13. Yep, 13. All right, then the same thing here. 10 times, what's my x? 3. Plus 7 times, what's my y? And what do I want my answer to be? 16. We get 16, so we know we're right. All right, I did this in my period 1 class. They wanted to solve for y first. Even though we solved for y first, we took this top equation and we multiplied by 2 on the top to get that -10. And then we got rid of the x. We ended up with the same answer. We ended up with 3 -2. Yep. So there's a lot of different ways you can do these problems. Justice picked a different equation here, right? That's what you did? You picked this 20x plus 14y? Okay, and she still got -2. There's lots of ways. It's going to be great. All right, last one that we're doing together, number 2. I can give this to you after, Destiny, if you want to just go about halfway down your page. All right, number 2, we have 10x plus 4y equals 30. And then we have 7x plus 5y equals 10. So I'm going to label that top equation 1. I'm going to label that bottom equation 2, just so that we can talk about them. On your worksheet, you have to say like equation 1, equation 2. So, all right, last time, in the first example, we chose just to multiply one of the equations by 2. Because when we multiplied by 2, 7 times 2, we got that 14. Can I do that here? Can I do 7 times something to get 10? Can I do 4 times a whole number to get 5? No. So that's not going to work, which means we're going to have to multiply both equations by a number. So we need to decide, should we eliminate our x's or should we eliminate our y's? Last time we eliminated our y's, we got a 0y. Do you guys want to do x's this time? Okay. So for x's, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply by the opposite coefficient, the other coefficient. So on this one, we're going to multiply all these numbers by the coefficient of the x in equation 2. So what is the coefficient of x in equation 2? Yep, with that x down here is 7, because we said we want to get rid of the x's. So we're going to multiply everything by 7. All right, so what is 10 times 7? Don't forget that x. 4 times 7. 28. Don't forget the y. I don't know. Felt like it. 30 times 7. Good. So 3 times 7 is 21, and then we can just add that 0 on for that 30. So on the top, we multiplied by 7 because we saw that down here. That's where we got the 7, was right there. On the bottom, what are we going to multiply everything by?
10.
10. Where did you get the 10?
On top.
It's the coefficient of the x on the other side. We take this number and we multiply down there by that. And the reason why I like to do the x's here is because multiplying by 10 is really easy. What's 7 times 10?
70.
70x. 5 times 10? 50y. And 10 times 10? 100. At this point, it's just like yesterday. So now when they're lined up, are we going to eliminate our x's or eliminate our y's? X's. So I want to get to a 0x. So we need to decide, are we going to do 70 plus 70 to get 0 or 70 minus 70? Minus. When they're the same, we have to subtract. So I'm going to put a minus there. That's the only place that you have to put the minus. I like to put the minus everywhere else as well. That helps me. So we're going to do 28 minus 50.
Negative 22.
Yep, negative 22. Y equals, and then what's 210 minus 100? 110. Struggling here with my calculator. All right, so what equation can I write from that elimination?
Negative 22y equals 110.
That negative 22y equals 110. The whole goal of that was to get rid of the x. So now at this point I can just solve that equation to find my y. So how am I going to undo that multiplying by negative 22? Divide. Now I'm noticing some of you still like to use this division sign with the 2 dots. That is totally okay. I am A-okay with that. It helps to start using that fraction line to see fractions. But if that's the way your brain works, let's roll with it. Y equals 110 divided by negative 22. Negative 5. All right, so that's our y. What are we going to find next? X. And this time, how many equations do we have to choose from?
4.
We have 4. We have our equation 1, this one that we started with, equation 2, or we can pick either of these ones that we used for multiplication. Personally, I'm a fan of using the ones that we started with because what if I made a mistake in one of these? If I go back to these ones, it's a little less likely I made a mistake.
Wait, what time does this class start?
45. All right, so which equation do you guys want to use? Last time we used equation 1. Just kidding, we used equation 2 last time. Do you guys want to use equation 1, equation 2, this top one, or this bottom one?
1.
Okay, equation 1. So equation 1 is 10x plus 4y equals 30. So is that negative 5 going to go in with the 10 or with the 4? Why are we putting it next to the 4? Okay, good. It's the y. So we need to make sure that we're matching that across. So 10x plus 4 times our y is negative 5, equals 30. So we end up with 10x plus negative 20. We're going to simplify it before we start solving. Make it easier to work with. Yep. Yeah, you keep going. Yeah, you got it. I'm waiting for there's a couple other people still writing. Alright, so to get x by itself, this 10 is like the best friend. So we're going to keep those best friends together. So we get rid of a negative 20. To get rid of a negative 20, we're going to think opposite. What's the opposite of a negative 20? Positive 20. And we do it to both sides. So we get 10x equals, what's 30 plus 20? 50. Well, remember when 10 and x are right next to each other? They're best friends, but now we have to split them apart. So how are we going to get rid of that multiplying by 10?
10 is moving away.
Divide. So we're going to divide by 10. And we get x equals
5 negative 5. Or x
equals 5. All right. So now for our last step. Last step is to put it in our ordered pair.
X 5 negative 5.
5, negative 5. Why are we choosing to put 5 first?
Because it's x.
Good, because it's x. So even though it was only 2 problems, it does take up kind of a lot of time because we're combining. We're just adding a new first step. And then after that, it's like what we did yesterday. So for your practice today, it's only 2 problems. We're going to talk a little bit about the worksheet once you get it. If you want to start it, you can. Some of it got cut off. So please make sure you write your name at the top because some of them, the name got taken off. And if you want to write C4, if you can't see the C4, see the C4. If you can't visually see C4, I don't know how to say that without saying CC.
Usually you wouldn't want to see C4.
Mm-hmm. Cool. If you can't see the assignment name, you can write C4 at the top, but please make sure you put your name on it.
I'd rather not see that.
Some names got
Keep
cut
your
off,
C4.
so if you can't see your name, write your name on it. We have 15 minutes right now, so you have plenty of time to get started.
You want to know why?
Yeah.
So,
Let's also we're going to start with the problem. It's kind of goofy. And then, yeah. We're going to talk about it. All right.
but you keep popping videos out of the
So let's talk about this worksheet. It's a little goofy. All right. You want to be on the side that has this 14x plus 5y first. So first thing we're going to do is just label those equations. I would label this top one 1 and this bottom one 2. Okay, this is supposed to say multiply, not multiple. There's a lot of mistakes on this worksheet, so we're getting there. Okay, which equation are we going to multiply by?
X.
Yeah, if we get rid of our x's, what do we have to multiply by?
2.
2. Are we going to multiply equation 1 by 2 or equation 2?
2.
Okay, so we're going to multiply equation 2 by 2. So if you want to write that in down here, you can write that times 2, times 2, times 2. So what is 7 times 2? 14. So we get 14x plus 3 times 2.
6y
6y
equals 10.
equals 10.
Or equals 10.
Okay. Worksheet's a little goofy. Alright, so now you're just going to copy that down here. 14x plus 6y equals 10. This is the last step I'll do with you guys, and then you got the rest on your own. Alright, so we're going to eliminate which part? The x's. So to get a 0x, are we going to add the equations or subtract the equations?
Subtract.
Subtract. And when we subtract, which one are we going to eliminate?
X.
We're going to get rid of the x because that's going to be the 0x. So we know here we're going to put a minus. And then if you want to, you can put a minus here, and then you're going to solve it here and put in your value for y and that equal sign. I don't know. Just keep going. You got it. Try it out. It's going to be crazy.